My name is Sigler, and I'm here with ABC's Literary Report. I'm here today with our literacy superstar, Patricia Cunningham. Welcome, Patricia! Woo! So great to meet you. So, Patricia, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background and experiences?
Sure. Well, again, I am Patricia Cunningham. I graduated from University of Rhode Island and began my teaching career teaching first grade in Florida. And there I worked as a curriculum coordinator and special reading teacher in both Indiana and Florida.
Wow.
From the start, I was kind of always worried about children who struggled learning how to read, and that's where I began to find alternative strategies to teach them how to read.
That's great.
Yeah, and so later on I received my PhD in reading education from the University of Georgia, and there I have been a director of elementary education at Wake Forest University in North Carolina.
Oh, awesome.
And I've worked with several teachers to develop hands-on and engaging ways to teach, phonics and spelling to all children, even the struggling ones.
Oh, wow. So as our literary superstar, what is your contribution to the field of literacy?
Well, I've written a ton of books and I've paired up with a lot of people, including Dottie Hall and Richard Allington.
Oh, awesome.
And the first book that we actually have here today is the
Classrooms at Work?
Yes, The Classrooms at Work, which I published along with Richard Allington. And a similar book to that I published with Dottie Hall, which was Schools at Work. And then also another book I have worked on is Making More Big Words.
Oh, awesome. And we actually have a copy of that here in studios.
Yes. And then from there, that's where we began developing the 4 Blocks framework, which is probably my biggest contribution. And that is where it's a comprehensive approach to literacy, and it's used in many schools in the United States and Canada.
Wow.
Dottie Hall and I have worked together to produce many of those books, and even including, which we've already showed, is the Making Words books. Yeah, and
Making Words. There's like a series of them.
Yes, that's the 4th edition, and we actually integrate those in Title I schools.
Oh, wow.
So that's been really helpful for those students. But overall, my major professional goal is promoting literacy for all children, as well as engaging in the 4 Blocks workshops and staff development with educators.
That is amazing. That's so great. Can you explain to us a little bit more about what this 4 Blocks is?
Sure. Well, there's 4 parts.
Okay. We'll pull it up for you.
Yes, there's 4 parts, and we have guided reading, like you see, self-selective reading, writing, and working with words. And the 4 Blocks is recommended to be used on a daily basis. We tell teachers not to integrate it once a week, but every day if possible. And using the 4 Blocks method will help with all children with all different learning disabilities, or learning in general with different learning styles.
Learning differences, that's great.
Yes.
Can you go a little bit more in depth about them? Can you tell me more about guided reading?
Sure. Guided reading is used to expose children to different books and comprehension, and to increase their reading level overall.
Wow, that is great.
Yes. And then teachers can provide the basal books, or can use multiple copies of the trade books.
Oh, those are great.
Yeah, and for guided reading, the students are placed in book clubs based on their interest and what they enjoy to read. And usually in traditional classrooms, they do it based on their ability, but here we do it based on their interest.
That is so great.
Yes.
And next up in the red is self-selected reading. Can you go a little bit more in depth on that?
Yes, self-selected reading is when the teacher will read aloud, and then the students from there can read self-selected books. Sometimes the books connect to the classroom theme, or they're just pulled by the teacher that week.
Awesome.
Yes.
That is so great. And then one in yellow is writing. Can you tell us more about writing?
Yes. Well, writing is going to be very similar to the writer's workshop.
Oh, wow.
We're going to, begin with a mini lesson, and then the students will be turned to do individual writing. And from there, the teacher, will walk around and make sure the kids are paying attention and being engaged. and the teacher will find different students to conference with.
Oh, that is great. Conferencing is awesome.
Yes.
And the last one in blue, working with words. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes. Well, working with the words is where students learn to read. So the focus will be on spelling high-frequency words that are posted on the word wall.
Oh, awesome. Word walls are great in
yes,
classrooms.
They're awesome. And also students will learn patterns that will help them to decode and spell.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That is so awesome. So you've been talking all about this, and the 4 blocks are just a great thing. Can you tell me, is there a specific level or age that this is tailored to?
Actually, that is a very common question that we get, and the 4 blocks method is specifically tailored to grades 1 through 3, but there are 2 other programs we have come up with, and there's one for kindergarten, which is the building blocks.
Oh, wow.
So the building blocks will then go into the 4 blocks, and then finally we have our last program for older students, specifically grades 4th through 6th, which is called the big blocks.
Oh, that's great. And so as we can see on the 4 blocks, is there a specific order that you would teach these in, that you have to?
There's actually not a specific order. Usually the teacher will find their own schedule for using them. Sometimes teachers will use each of the 4 blocks as a center, or, it's just going to be based on the teacher's preference.
Wow, that is so great. Well, thank you so much, Patricia Cunningham, for coming to our ABC show today. This is it. Bye, guys.